So then getting into kind of the sales process. So we set kind of margin expectations. How do you maximize, your sales process? So first thing is to maximize your existing accounts. Generally, if you have an HOA, a commercial building, a government district, they're going to have a budgeted amount that's set for mulch, tree trimming, set for just generalized color and enhancements. You need to make sure you capture that. So if that's 30% of your recurring maintenance contract, make sure that whomever's responsible, generally it's an account manager, but whomever's responsible is getting 100% of that. Make sure you mind wallet share. That ought to be just no different from a recurring contract, even if it's an ancillary service. And then to the extent you can, plan with the client what enhancements are going to be delivered as part of their budget cycle. And so typically most HOAs have a budget cycle that's in September or October, where they're gathering information and they're finalizing what the budget is for the next calendar year by November, so that they can send out bills to the residents. And so having an account manager or a business development person actively engaged during that budgetary process is critical, because we've seen across many of our clients that you can influence that 5-10%, which on a typical contract can really start to move your gross margin and your profitability. So having that scheduled and required for your teams is a really good way to maximize what you get from your existing accounts. Secondly, expanding within what we call partial coverage contracts. So what we see a lot of effectiveness from a client standpoint is maybe they have the amenity centers or the commons of a particular HOA, but they don't have the residents, or you're doing the front yards but not the backyards, or you're doing a pond basin or a pool center but not other pieces of the property. Making sure you have a defined plan and almost a requirement for whomever owns that client relationship to go make proposals to those folks, to go drive proposals, is a critical piece of driving up your total overall enhancement sales. And generally, when we've looked at this, if your win rate from a RFP or recurring maintenance standpoint is, and we see big ranges, but 15 to 30%, we see win rates for enhancements that are within partial coverage contracts, meaning you already have familiarity with the company because they do your common areas. We see the win rates there much closer to 40 or 50%, probably double what the win rate is if it was just a new client. And most of that's driven by familiarity, but also logistically, it's a simpler process. And so bottom line from what we see across a wide swath is it's just all about at-bats. If you have 30 proposals delivered, you're going to win a lot more than if you have 3 proposals delivered. And it seems very obvious, but we definitely see cases where people are, I don't want to say afraid, because that's probably not the right word, but they're hesitant to suggest something because they'll say, well, the homeowner, if they really wanted this, would come out and tell us. Or if the HOA really wanted to redo their entrance, they would tell us. And that may be true in some cases, but in a lot of cases, people don't even think about what the possibilities are. And so presenting them with that proposal and with that possibility, number one, you don't have competition because you're proposing against doing nothing. And number two, you can really define what you want. So if you have great access to a certain type of shrub or plant or perennial or annual, you can really drive the mix of products such that it's within your wheelhouse, and that can also help drive profitability. And then the last piece that we see people do effectively is what we call geo-prospecting. And so that's not just doing a scatter shot of clients, but it's really kind of the cousin to the partial coverage contracts, where you're going to look at a Google map or a Bing map, and you're going to identify all the potential customers within a geography that you're already serving. And then you're going to identify them, get addresses, and then have whomever is responsible in your organization, whether that's a business development person, an enhancement manager, an account manager, whoever's driving that, give them a signed list of prospects, give them as much information as you can afford from a time standpoint to give. Like, is it a property manager? Is it an HOA? Is it a commercial property that you have to go find out the building management company and or the ownership? Whatever it is, give them that defined geo-prospected area, because you can then define scope a little bit more. You can have kind of a denominator related to how many attempts you're going to make, and then you can really control it. And honestly, the request system has to be formal. It has to be something where you have these prospects, you're tracking these prospects, and you can use multiple systems to do this. So you know who went to which individual prospects, when they presented their design or their proposal, and then you can follow back up. And when we see across clients in this business for this type of sale, it's a face-to-face business. It's hand-to-hand, it's handshaking. That person-to-person contact, especially when you're selling, the possibility of the new or the possibility of the design, it's not effective over email. It's not effective over blasts. It's an in-person, face-to-face kind of sale.